anyways, I decided I was going to start mine the same way a lot of people have, with a story, and then you guys can decide if you think the story is true or false. And I want you guys to really exercise judgment with the story. Just because I'm saying it doesn't mean it's true. Have some skepticism, so feel free. Anyways, so I was walking in Tanzania's Gombe forest the other day, and I met this chimpanzee named Bob. And says, we're just talking, and he tells me he's been reading a lot of Machiavelli lately. So I was very surprised by this and asked him why he had, and he said that he needed to put down a coup that he saw was coming his way. Okay, so how many of you guys believe this story? Good! I'm glad. Okay, because it's true. So, well, his name was actually George, but George and I were talking, and as it turns out, mankind isn't the only political animal, so haha, Aristotle. Chimpanzees also have very distinct and actually very subtle political systems. And that's what I'm going to go into today. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about, just like give you an overview of the way chimpanzee societies are structured. Chimpanzees usually live in communities of about 20 to 100 individuals, but they don't stick together the whole time. In fact, they usually just spend time in groups of about 5, but they'll keep contact with each other throughout the day with like pant hoots and calls, which I would demonstrate for you, but I decided not to. But anyways, so yes, and they all stay in the same kind of territory, which is usually about 10 to 30 square kilometers. And this is basically, the size of the territory is determined by the number of adult males, because the adult males form the core of the community. And although they do have a competitive streak, because they are all competing for the position of alpha male, they're actually very, very supportive of each other, because chimpanzee communities last generations. And if you're born into a community, unless you're like exiled or you choose to leave, which is rare, you stay with them for life. So all the chimps have each other's backs. And also the male chimps at least form a sort of border patrol. Back to you. And so they kind of maintain the territorial integrity of their community. And so if they see another chimp come in that they don't know, they will kill that chimp. Chimps are actually very vicious. But they're also cute, so it's okay. Anyways, so the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about, which is a little bit of a digression, but I thought it was really interesting, is this idea of morality in chimpanzees. Because it's been brought up by a number of researchers, largely this guy called Franz de Waal, which I don't think is how you pronounce it, but it's how I'm going to pronounce it. And he basically has this idea that chimpanzees are also moral animals like humans. And he wrote a book called The Age of Empathy, Nature's Lessons for a Kinder Society, in which he tried to understand kind of the roots of moral behavior in what he calls political animals. And there's a little bit of a problem with his methods in terms of the fact that he attributes a lot of emotion and kind of human qualities. He views chimpanzee behavior through a very human prism. So he'll assign chimpanzees emotions, and he'll assign them intentions and personalities, which is actually what Jane Goodall did. She, famously refused to identify the chimps that she observed with numbers, and instead gave them names, and really did distinguish them with personalities that were very, very human. And so, of course, the danger in this is kind of imposing these human conceptions and values and ideas on what should just be a more just empirical research. But I mean, it does have its interesting merits. Anyway, so basically, the book was a synthesis of the factors that account for cooperative behavior in the natural setting. And the conclusions de Waal reached really do defy kind of this idea that nature is selfish and that humans have a monopoly on morality. So I wanted to start off with a couple stories because, well, I really like anecdotal evidence, and that's all I have. The first story is really sweet. Okay. There was this chimpanzee. She was this old lady named Peony, and she had a tough time because she had arthritis, and so she was basically incapacitated in her later years, and she could not get to any sources of water. So if nature were to take its course, right, she would die. Alas, her fellow chimps had her back, and they would all take turns literally going down to the stream, drinking in the water and filling their cheeks with it, and then going back to her and giving it to her. And so she stayed alive for years, and she wasn't really she wasn't a productive member of the community. She couldn't even reproduce anymore. And she was she was just another mouth to feed. She drained the community. But the chimpanzee stuck by her side, and she stayed alive. Okay. And another example of this was from Jane Goodall's own observations. And she, in her time, observed a particularly nasty pneumonia epidemic, and a lot of chimpanzees were orphaned. And she witnessed one example where these two little baby chimps named Mel and Darby, and they were each 3.5 years old, and they got taken in by these adolescent teens who basically slept with them and carried them around on their backs, even though they were totally unrelated, and they really formed a bond as fellow orphans. And so, arguably, you could say this is all for just kind of the survival of the species as a whole, but it does ascend beyond the realm of necessity, and it does show what de Waal would describe an empathy in chimpanzees that we have usually solely attributed to humans. There's also an interesting study that was done at the University of Texas by a researcher named Sarah Brosnan, and this showed that chimpanzees have a conception of justice. So what she basically did was she first did it with capuchin monkeys, and so she would take two monkeys and put them in a room, and they would be given a reward if they completed a simple task. So there was a desirable reward, which was a grape, and a not so desirable reward, which was a cucumber. And if both chimpanzees got the desirable reward or both got the undesirable reward, they would be cool with it. But if one got the desirable reward, and the other got the undesirable reward for the same task, the one that got the cucumber would throw a fit. Now, this isn't actually that surprising because people have attributed, a lot of people say that chimpanzees have the cognitive capacity of a 3-year-old, and we've all seen 3-year-olds throw tantrums when they don't get what they want. But what happened when they did this experiment with chimpanzees was that the chimpanzee who got the grape, when the other chimpanzee got the cucumber, the chimpanzee who got the grape refused to take the grape because it also recognized the injustice and thus refused. And I don't even think a human would do that. I mean, I would have taken the grape. So, I mean, that really shows something else in chimps besides this kind of evolutionary instinct. But this idea that there's more to evolution than competition isn't new. I mean, Darwin himself acknowledged that, cooperation, fairness, sympathy were all essential to the survival and the flourishing of a species. And he even wrote in The Descent of Man, those communities which included the greatest number of the most sympathetic members would flourish best and rear the greatest number of offspring. So perhaps there is this benefit to having this moral behavior. Anyways, that was my little sweet diversion. But now we're going to chimpanzee politics. And what I think we'll see is that chimpanzee politics are a lot like American politics, for better or for worse. It involves, so basically the males will compete for dominance and then dispense patronage. Males and females don't compete for social status because basically the only reason you want a higher social status is so you can have sex with more females. So it doesn't really make sense for the two to be competing. But females will build networks and form kind of cliques. And there are some smart chimpanzee ladies out there, and they will work really hard to get their son to power. Anyways, this whole my interest in chimpanzees started in 8th grade when I had to do a science fair project, and I wanted to avoid doing anything sciencey, so I decided to study chimpanzees. And it was at the time of the 2008 presidential election, and the word likability was thrown around a lot, if you guys remember, because Hillary Clinton wasn't considered likable as and Obama was, and so people were hypothesizing how this would affect the election. And I think it's safe to say that likability plays a big role in how we choose our leaders, at least in America. So I wanted to see if this standard, a very human standard of likability, also applied to chimpanzee hierarchies. So what I did in my very scientific way was I took qualities which I identified as likable, and then I operationalized them so that I could translate them into specific chimpanzee behaviors that I could then observe and quantify. And I did that basically through Jane Goodall's observations, but I used a couple of sources. But anyway, so I would count the number of times a chimpanzee shared food or groomed, because grooming is a real expression of affection, and it's a real maintenance of social order in chimpanzee communities. And what I found was that, in fact, in my very scientific way, the chimpanzees who were on the higher social status did have distinctly likable qualities. And I think what you'll see in how they navigate the system might explain some of this. So first I just wanted to kind of identify two sorts of social structures within the primate family. Animal ethologists recognize the agonic structure, which is basically when violence is used to maintain order. And then what chimpanzees are is the hedonic, which is when social ranking is determined by basically showing off. So, for example, if a baboon starts to do a dominance display, everyone gets out of there because they know violence is going to come. But if a chimpanzee does, everyone sits down and watches because that's what it's for. The dominance display is a really important attribute in chimpanzee societies in terms of maintaining order because it helps avoid a lot of unnecessary bloodshed. Chimpanzees can resolve issues, power struggles, without even having to fight because of the dominance display. So it's been a real factor in maintaining kind of the stability within chimpanzee communities. So now I just want to kind of break down the qualities of an alpha male. So first of all, alpha males are usually paranoid because they realize that they are constantly, their status is constantly under attack. There are constantly plots, if you will, and so everything is done for the purpose of maintaining their alpha role, their alpha male position. So they forge alliances, they build networks, so that should they feel threatened, they have their constituency to turn back to. Or they also break into these ridiculous dominance displays in which everyone gets scared and won't bother threatening them. And they also have swagger. Okay, so I really don't know why I wrote that, but I figured I needed to keep it. Okay, so I'm going to share a couple more anecdotal pieces of evidence, and you'll see some examples of how chimpanzees have learned to work the system. So the first one takes place in Tanzania, and it's about a little guy named Yatogi, and he was an alpha male chimpanzee. He wasn't that little. And what he would do is when he hunted, because chimpanzees actually eat meat, which is another thing Jane Goodall discovered. Kind of wrong with my name, but that's okay. He would not only share his little animal pieces with his girlfriends and his mother, but he would also share it with a group of younger, middle-ranking males. But he wouldn't share it with the most senior rivals or the younger males that were poised to become rivals. And by doing that, he, like a good student of Machiavelli, he cultivated a very reliable but less threatening group of constituents, and they helped him stay in power. And this is how he lasted a long time as the alpha male. Another example, which kind of reminds me of the War of the Roses, was a chimpanzee called Urion. And Urion was very clever. He never wanted to be the alpha male, but he wanted to keep his position in society in terms of that he could have sex with a lot of different chimpanzee ladies. So he would alternate his support between the two rival, that's all it comes down to for chimpanzees, I'm sorry. He would alternate his support between the two rival males, so that when one started to say, oh no, you can't have sex with that one, he would turn to the other one, and it would go back to the way it was. And so that way he kept his privileges just by kind of manipulating the system, because chimpanzees are smart. But what they also do in being smart is they avoid having a tyranny. Because just like there's a natural inclination of chimpanzees, of the alpha male, to kind of assert his dominance and be aggressive and forceful and make all the rest of the chimpanzees submit to his will, he also needs to appease the group, because the chimpanzees can always overthrow a leader. It happens multiple times. And so because there's this power of the masses, if you will, there's a balance of power that exists in chimpanzee communities, a balance that even Newt Gingrich recognized and put on the Capitol Hill's book review list, the book Political Chimpanzees. So obviously, we're not the only ones making this connection. Although I read that Newt Gingrich actually thought that the book was an argument for social Darwinism and misunderstood it, and that was why he put it on, but I still think it's not advocating social Darwinism. But despite this kind of harmony that exists in the chimpanzee world, there's also a lot of sad things. Jane Goodall admits to being traumatized by what she witnessed in her years in Tanzania, and that there was just incredible warfare, and the chimpanzees were ruthless with each other. What happened was that one chimpanzee found these kerosene cans, and with those, when he banged them together, he's had the whole group at his feet because they were terrified of him. And so from that kind of tyranny emerged a division into two different factions, and those two different factions warred with each other for about 10 years. And the way chimpanzees fight in terms of civil war is it's not just like charging at each other like we do, but they hunt each other one by one. So it takes a very long time to wipe out a chimpanzee community, but it gets them eventually because they'll hunt each other, and it's really gross actually to see videos of it. But how much time do I have? I'm sorry. I didn't see by 5 or 2. I had 5? Okay. So from this has stemmed the argument, the fact that chimpanzees have this like aggressive streak. There's chimpanzee rape, there's chimpanzee war. Jacob told me there was chimpanzee prostitution. I'm not sure if that's true. But there's this idea that because we're so related to chimpanzees, it means that war and aggression is inherent in us and that it's unavoidable. And this comes dangerously close to a justification for war. And I think I like the way that Jane Goodall phrased it, in that yes, we do have this genetic tendency towards aggression and violence, but that we also have a conscious and an ability to choose to go beyond that. And there's also the argument that's been made about bonobos, which are actually closer to us than chimpanzees. And they're like our hippie monkey cousins, because they just like, their whole culture is about sex. Like they have sex with everybody. It's how they say hi. It's true. So, and they're like the most peaceful animal out there. So the fact that they're also just so closely related to us kind of negates this idea that we are doomed to perpetual warfare with each other because it is our nature. But anyways, I just thought, this would be a good opportunity to see the parallels between our society and chimpanzee society, because we are amazingly similar, for better or for worse. I mean, I think we both have displayed, humans can display immense compassion and empathy, and so can chimpanzees. And we can also have our dominance displays on Capitol Hill and things like that. So I think it's an interesting way to view politics